Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's 𝐊𝐷𝐿, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. Actually, this is from 2015, and 𝐵𝐔𝐘𝐒 and her associate on the cover when they were at Flywheel. And anyway, it's always nice to look at the covers, and I was using current issues, and we don't print the magazine, we're digital right now, but this one actually looks really, really good. And I always like to look at my picture. Oh, I was up on the lake, and I have a little more hair, and anyway, but it's always interesting to see what was going on. And that was over 8 years ago, but I still love holding the magazine in my hands, but we're digital now, so we're up on the web. And we haven't printed a magazine since August of 2021. White Castle, VP of Construction, was on my cover, and that was the biggest facility that they ever built and restaurant. And but since then, we've made the transformation. So, but you can still get the magazine printed. We have an on-demand service. So if you ever wanted to get a magazine, or if you were featured or had an article, you can always still get that printed. But we're pretty much digital. So I hope everybody's ready for the weekend. I know I am. It's been a long week. I'm down here in the South. I got pollen all over me in green, and hopefully we're supposed to get some wind and some rain, so it'll blow some of that stuff off. But we're coming into April. You got Easter coming up. You got March Madness going on. Spring break here's coming up the week, not next week, the following, I think, in Atlanta. So everybody's off, and they're going to go down to Destin or Hilton Head or wherever. And myself, I'm going out for my mom's 84th birthday next weekend, and out in Cave Creek, which is north of Phoenix, in the foothills. And it'll be good to see her for a couple days. My sister's going to come out with just the three of us and celebrate it with her. And I'll come back. I'll be in production for my issue, trying to get my issue posted up on the issue number 3 for us. We have our 6th annual Project Profile Awards in there. I've got a hotelier on the cover. Let's see, I've got my roofing report. The issue's going to look awesome. Actually, I'm closing it today, so we're going to production this weekend. And I've got all these projects I've got to judge. And thank you to everybody that submitted. And hopefully you'll get featured in there. So anyway, March Madness, got X amount of teams left. I know my bracket's busted. So, the women's coming up. You got the men. You got ice hockey. And, I'm a lacrosse guy. So, actually, University of Denver spring break was last week. So they haven't played in 2 weekends. They're coming up this weekend. They're playing Villanova. We're getting into league play. I think we're number 15 in the country. And, they got to win the Big East to get into the dance, because there's a lot of good teams in the top 20. And they only put 16 teams in the NCAA tournament. And our coach is retiring after 42 years, Coach Tierney. So we want the swan song at the University of Denver, Pios, and Pioneers as we're known, but we call ourselves the Pios, to go out with another NCAA championship and bring the trophy back to Magnus Arena and put it in the trophy case. So we're hoping the boys do well against those Villanova guys from my hometown in Philly, and get the win tomorrow. I know my wife just went to Hilton Head to see her mom, and I'll be judging and watching the game and screaming at my laptop at about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So you'll know where I'll be. So if any of you are out there watching the game, text me. We can go back and forth. So, but it's the weekend. Time to recharge your battery, cleanse your mind, get ready, positive thoughts, get ready to do it all over again next week. So with that said, I've got a local on our show today. Her name is Cloteen Jasmin, and she's the market leader and senior vice president of development for the Ryan companies for the Southeast. So Cloteen, from the ATL, say hello to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Hello, everybody. It is so fantastic to be here. I love the energy you're bringing, especially the Friday pre-weekend energy. So thanks for having me. I'm fired up.
Hey, listen, it's I've been up since the crack of dawn, and getting things done, and so I kind of blow through the afternoon, and my wife left early, so I'm dealing with the dogs, trying to get things done, and people are emailing me and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I got this thing I got to get going on to. So, so I'm trying to, do my hair and, and get myself ready. But no, listen, Friday's a great day. I think, to me, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm going 24 hours, 7 days a week, but it's the weekend. So you have to take some time off just to relax, recharge your battery, think about what you have coming up. And so you can start the week out on a positive note. And, we're in construction. Everybody's busy. I mean, it's just insane how many people, if they had more superintendents or PMs, they could do more projects.
Yeah.
I just had a sign guy said he turned down 20 remodel jobs, or rebranding jobs with a major retailer. And they were like, what do you mean you're not going to do the projects? He's like, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, because the last thing I want to do is not deliver. So everybody I talk to, they're just freaking busy. It's amazing. So, which is great for the economy. All the doom and gloom, listen, we have no control over that stuff. So as people in construction, even though they're shutting down this, listen, someone shut down the store, someone else is going to bring it on. They're going to renovate it, and so it's always good for construction and people that are in AEC and that whole sector. So let's keep that momentum going, through Q2, 3, and 4. Now that we're finishing the month out of Q1, and with the last day being March 31st today. So
Today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cloteen, the way this works is we're going to do it in 3 parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, brothers, sisters, where you went to school and how you ended up at Ryan. And then we'll talk about the last 3 years, with the roller coaster and, lessons learned and any cool projects that you might have coming up. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners, and any contact info that they can reach out to you. And then we'll close it out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Oh boy. How much time did you say we have here? This is a
Not
long
enough.
One. So I'll try to be brief. Well, I'll start now. I'll tell you what's going on now, and then I can go back and kind of tell you how I got to now. So right now, in this moment, I like to say my life is a TV sitcom. And what I mean by that is I'm married. So my husband and I, we've got 2 kids, boy and a girl, boy-girl twins. They are in the 5th grade. So they're, finishing up elementary school, about to embark on middle school, and they're very excited. We're very excited, but also a little nervous because they're not little babies anymore. So that's the 4 of us, both working parents. My husband and I are both working parents with, young kids, and we're not, young people. We had them late. So there have been many, many times where I said, I'm too old to have twins. I'm too old to have twins. But in addition to that, as if that wasn't enough for folks our age, we are both the primary caregivers in our house of our parents. So my mother lives with us. My stepfather passed away in 2019. And so in early 2020, she moved in with us. Fine, grandma moves in, we've got young kids, at that point they were in 3rd grade. This is working out great. And then a few months after that, we find out that his mom has dementia and his dad can't care for her anymore. So we go down to Florida to sell the house. They move in with us as well, because at this point, there's nowhere to go. Everybody's kind of hunkered down in quarantine. So we've got my 77-year-old mother, my husband's 81-year-old mother, and 82-year-old father, all living with us under one roof, 7 people in my house. If you were ever a fan of Everybody Loves Raymond, back in the day, like I was.
I watch Raymond every night. I mean, that's probably the only TV I watch, 2.5 Men, Raymond. I know all the lines. We laugh. We've seen them all.
I love that show. And I never thought, all those years when I was watching it, I never thought that was going to be, me in a few years. So it is, comic relief. Even this morning, walking out of the house, all kinds of funny things happen every single day. I'm waiting for the director to yell cut, and wonder if there's a camera somewhere, because this can't really be happening. So it is, art imitates life for sure. Our life, if someone is out there and wants to film a new show about 2 folks who are primary caregivers for 3 elderly folks and 2 elementary age kids under one roof, give me a call, because that's the today. So in addition to that, like you said, I'm in commercial real estate, leading the Atlanta office for Ryan Companies. And how I got here, if I go way, way back, I am a Southerner through and through. I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, and spent, all of my early years in Texas. West Texas, Brownwood is where my family's from. My mom's side of the family's from Brownwood, Texas. My dad's side's from Louisiana. So I am 100% Southern, and grew up down South and just really love the South. I love Southern people. I love Southern hospitality. I love everything about it. Even did a stint, after I grew up, and I went to college here in Atlanta at Clark Atlanta University, which is an HBCU. And there's a story there that I'd be happy to share with you. Majored in accounting, minored in finance, thought I was going to be a bean counter. I went up to New York, and actually worked at E&Y in New York for a little while. And I'll never forget one of my clients. I probably shouldn't say his name, but one of my clients in Jersey walks in late one night. He's a controller of a company over there, and he goes, "Cloteen, can I ask you a question?" And I'm like, "Sure. What's up?" And he goes, "Why do you do this?" "What do you mean? Why are you a bean counter? I've been in accounting my whole life. You have way too much personality to do accounting." And that got me thinking, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? So I switched to consulting for a little bit, and then eventually went to law school. So I graduated from Georgetown and just came out laser focused. I'm going to be a real estate lawyer. So that's when I moved back to Atlanta back in 2004, became a real estate lawyer here at Sutherland, and I've been in commercial real estate ever since.
Oh, so you were on the commercial side. You didn't do residential.
I never ever have done residential. So, even when I was at Arthur Andersen here, E&Y in New York, always doing commercial real estate. Whether I was an accountant, a consultant, a lawyer, all those years, everything was always commercial real estate focused. And here I was a lawyer for a big box retailer who's headquartered in Atlanta. And then that was one of my clients. And then my other big client as a lawyer was a developer, a local developer here, that is, one of the largest privately held in the Southeast region. So that's the legal work that I was doing, was big box retail, which is, industrial, as well as development. And so when I left that, I went to Georgia Pacific, which is also headquartered here in Atlanta, and was director of real estate. So it's just been consistently in depth, not just commercial, but more specifically from the very beginning of my career out in Conyers, Georgia at Scientific Atlanta, when they were out there, from the very beginning of Lithonia Lighting, when they were out there, from the very beginning, always industrial. So picture me, I'm now this mature professional woman, I'd like to say, but this young kid straight out of college, don't know much of anything, always the only woman, always the only person of color, usually the youngest person in the room. I've been doing industrial real estate since, the late 90s, early 2000s. And so that's how I ended up at Ryan, just that expertise and sort of professional, even though my career's meandered and I've been so many places, the focus primarily by and large has been industrial real estate, and still doing more of it even here at Ryan.
It's funny, listen, I'm a Yankee living in the South. So, I love the Southern hospitality. I ended up in Atlanta in 92, and my company, I was in the food business, and gave up all the family businesses, and they wanted me to move back to corporate. And I'm like, no, I like the South. So I saw an ad sales job in the paper. I went, and small world, they had 10 magazines and 8 trade shows, and my parents were in upholstery manufacturing, and they used to run ads, and the owner of the company met me when I was like 3 years old in our New York showroom. And they're like, "Oh, we got to hire this guy." So I had sales experience, but I didn't have publishing experience. So I got thrown on this, automotive interiors magazine. I was calling on Ford, GM, and Chrysler, and, guys that are manufacturing. So it's amazing when you look back at your career, you took all those little bits and chunks and you've applied it, and that's where you are now at Ryan. The same thing. So I went through my publishing, and then I launched my little construction magazine. Then Nielsen bought our company. That honeymoon lasted about 18 months. And then right after 9/11, they whacked about 30 titles out of their 100 magazine portfolio with that division. And my little construction book got the axe. And I was like in the year that I launched that magazine in 99, my son was born. So it was kind of like my second child. And I had to stand up for it. And so I offered to buy the magazine. They didn't want to sell it to me. Thought I was bluffing. And I said, "I'm going on the road for a week." I came back. I said, "Are you going to sell me the magazine?" They said, "No." I said, "Here's my resignation." They're like, "What?" I said, "Bye." December 17, 2001, I left. Right after 9/11, all the poo-pooers, "Don't do it, don't do it." My parents, "Don't leave, don't leave. You got an expense account, travel, teeny, at 401k. I'm like, "Nope, I'm rolling the dice." 2 months later, I had the director of construction of Home Depot on the cover. When they were building about 140 stores a year, during the big plunge. And
I remember those years. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I've been in Atlanta since 92. So I went to the Olympics. I've seen everything, I live out here in the burbs. It was the boondocks, now with urban sprawl, it's all been built up. So I know 400 was just getting finished, when I came here. and so, but we went to the Olympics, and then I went to the dot-com burst, and then the '08 cliff, where construction just got whacked. And, now we had the roller coaster over the last 3 years, and, now you got the financial, real estate, who knows what's going to happen. And, but I've weathered all that stuff. But Atlanta, it's the LA of the South,
It is, yeah.
That's what I say. It's the LA of the South. Every Fortune 500 company's got a company, headquarters here. You can get anywhere in the world by, using Delta and probably nonstop. The weather's great. It get a little hot in the summer, but I don't even think I saw snow this winter. I don't even think I saw it. Maybe a couple flurries. That's it. But other than that, you're 4 hours to the beach, to Savannah, or you can go a little further down south to Destin. The beaches are beautiful. Atlanta in itself, we got all the sports teams, and it's just and a lot and everybody, you're basically you're a real Southerner, Texas, Louisiana,
Yeah.
but a lot of the people here are transplants like me.
Mhm.
So, I laugh when I used to go to I was a ticket holder for the Thrashers and this and that. I go down there and half the stadium was wearing the other team's jerseys. They're going in there. So it was, it's crazy, but it's an awesome city to live in. And, Nashville, 3 hours, Birmingham, 3 hours. I mean, Charlotte, you got all these cities you can drive to. And if you haven't seen any of the beaches in Georgia, whether it's on the southern side or on the eastern side, and they're really, really nice. So Atlanta's got a lot to offer. And I've been here for forever. And I don't know. I mean, I could pick up, but why? So there's some action going on. So let's talk about March of 2020. So there's cranes going on, everybody's building, and then boom, shutdown happens. And I've talked to all sorts of people on my show, and all the different things, but everybody says it's been the most productive time. That I've learned more about my business, more about myself. There's more about life. And, it's not just all work. And, companies have just reinvented themselves. And being in real estate, now, we don't really know what's going to happen because there's a lot of vacancies out there. And, what are they going to be transformed into? And, there's not, it's very volatile, to say the least. Every day I'm drained mentally by the time I get up, because I've heard so much stuff going on that from all, business, political, blah, blah, blah. It's just crazy. So how did your company handle, the last 3 years, because Ryan's a big company. I mean, you got offices all over the place, and you do everything. You're involved in everything.
We do everything. I mentioned industrial, but look, I'll start by saying I'm half full. So, you went all the way back to .com, you went back to, 9/11, you went back. So same thing. I came to Atlanta in 1993 and have been here. I left briefly, went to New York. Sorry, Southerners. I learned my lesson. I came back, and of course had to go to DC for law school. But yeah, had to come back. And in all of that, I was living through all of that as a professional. And I guess I've always been half full. So these things were happening, and maybe I just wasn't, I won't say that I wasn't smart enough to know any better. I just saw it happening, but I've always had this, and I don't know if you, maybe because you said the naysayers, you just poo-pooers. I've always said, oh, that's them, that's not me. And for whatever reason, just like you, when you said, I'll buy the magazine, and they're looking at you like, well, no, we don't want to sell it to you. I have decided that whatever's going on around me, I can jump on that bandwagon and let it affect me, or I can just kind of stay off to the side and watch the stuff pass by and keep working over here. And so whether it was way back then when everything was falling apart around everybody else, people were jumping ship, .com and 9/11, 2008, a lot of things were happening. And there has been, in every instance in commercial real estate, there has been that turmoil, but I just kind of stay half full. And even now, I hear the warnings and I heed the warnings and I pay attention and I'm careful and thoughtful and practical, but I don't buy into the fact that it's going to stop me from doing what I'm trying to do. I might have to change a little bit of, maybe I need to stretch my timeline out. Maybe it's going to impact my budget. My budget might have to be shifted. Maybe I need to pull in some assistance or make some alterations, but I have a hard time just stopping. I even said to the team, I'm like, we're not going to stop selling. So let's go, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And if we sit here and wait for the best to happen, then when everything unlocks and starts going, then we won't be ready. And so the same thing, you back to March 2020, there was a period where everybody just kind of hit pause, or I won't even say stop. Everything paused for a bit. But we were still thinking, we were still processing, we were still trying to salvage, the ones that we could. And frankly, we ended up making more money each year successively. We ended up making more money just like everybody else, but I think it was thoughtful money. And, like you said, we do everything. We are in the fortunate position at Ryan of not being too heavy in one sector versus another. We've got 6 different sectors, and so if industrial is hot, which it is right now, and multifamily is hot, we've got industrial and multifamily. We've also got senior living. We're one of the top developers of senior living in the country, in the top 3. And so, if any of those slow down, that's okay, because we still have retail and we've still got office and we've got all these other sectors that we work in. And so we have the luxury of being able to just, whatever's slowing down, we can just pick back up somewhere else. And so I think that insulated us and protected us from a lot of the turmoil that, maybe office and retail slowed down, but industrial and multi, it upticked, and we were ready for it.
I mean, a lot of the projects, they were probably deemed essential, and it really depended on what state you're in. Like Georgia, we were open. Yeah. I had 3 projects up here in Swanee when I was, Sugar Hill was basically where I live, and one was a long-term care, senior living. They were building a fire station, and they were building a bunch of multifamily. And those projects just, look, they had to do some PP, that kind of stuff, regulations and so forth. But, construction, all the people I talked to, hey, they put their mask on, they got on a plane, they went, they went to their jobs. I mean, they didn't stop construction. It was an essential thing. So depending on which state you were in, really determined on how maybe you had to push back some of your projects, because if you were, let's say, you were doing a federal highway project, it was outside, that probably didn't get affected. Yeah. But if you were a plumber in a state where you couldn't be, close together, that project probably got hindered a little, so it really depended on where you were in the country. But from a standpoint of being productive, a lot of people, they had that office environment, then they had to work out of the house. I was working at, so all of the the water cooler or coffee gibberish that's going on, all that stuff went away. And a lot of people, a lot of owners or upper management were like, "Ooh, how are we going to keep our company culture? Can I trust these people to get up and all this stuff?" And all these people, after the last 3 years, they've all told me, they're like, "Oh my God, we're so much more productive. We're using technology. You can pick and choose where you need to go if you need to see something in face to face. You've got AI coming in, which is going to change the whole construction market. You won't even recognize construction in 5 years if AI goes the way it is right now." And just like me, I'm using it, as a digital publisher, and it's been an amazing catalyst and the companies that didn't take that poo-poo attitude and, oh, poor me, and they just said, okay, we got to get things done. It's not pull bootstraps. This is just not the American way. And we got to figure things out, and we got to go, and maybe we might make a mistake here or there, but we're going to learn from it, and we're going to adjust it, So I kind of always looked at the glass always half full, not a half empty. It's partly sunny, not partly cloudy. And I don't like to surround myself with negative people. I don't have time for it, man. Get out of my sandbox. Anybody wants to play my sandbox?
I listen to them. I listen to them because they're cautious. Because I could be, Pollyanna if you let me. But so I listen to them, but I don't absorb it. I don't let that sink in. I listen, I file it away and go, okay, well, that could happen. But this could also happen, and then that could happen. And I try to focus on the positives too. What are the things that are positive? I have never ever had a green thumb. I grew a tomato garden in my backyard. Tomatoes and cucumbers, delicious. Like, I now have an appreciation for organic vegetables that I would never have had if it wasn't for having the time and the ability. I was working from home and I didn't want to be indoors all day. So what can I do outside that is, a new skill? And it was that. And so I had the best time, my mom and I together. That was something that we wouldn't have been able to do grew a tomato and cucumber garden. And so things like that were great because I learned new skills, new hobbies. And then also the technology. So here's something interesting. You know, if I look at my generation, and, you know, most of the folks I work with are boomers, Generation X, I'm Generation X, and, you know, sort of right on the edge of it, or baby boomers. And think about before that, what was most people's perspective of millennials? You know, you get this snarl, this, you know, this, it wasn't a positive impression. I have such an appreciation for technology and how to use technology, not just for social, for fun, for, you know, not just Facebook, Instagram, I'm going to keep up with my friends from school, but how can I use technology for work? And it was happening, but it wasn't happening to the extent it is now. How can I, with this meeting we're having right now, we probably would have tried to figure out how to do this in person, you know, and felt like it had to happen in person. People from other sides of I've sat on panels with people, on Zoom panels with people in other countries. We would never have been able to do that. And so I now have such a great appreciation for technology and just wish I had learned prior the things that, you know, I like to call them my millennials. I have a group of millennial advisors. You know, my CTO is a millennial. She comes to my house and fixes my home network and tells me, you got to get a better phone, you got to get a better router, you know, and just those types of things that when I was forced to create a home office, and I could tap into that knowledge, you know, it wasn't the first place I would have thought to go before, but now I think as a leader and as a professional, I really look at the value that younger people, you know, just the competitive edge and the value that younger people bring into the workplace and into the teams, into the projects, that I just, you know, I was doing it the same way for 20 years and didn't think about how productive we could be as a team in a meeting on a computer screen. And now it's just normal. It's so normal. And I love it. I love the positive aspect of that.
I had a project management guy early in my podcasting days, and he said, look, you know, here's your finger. This is the construction project. Your fingernail is basically the construction. And once it's done, it's facilities and, you know, property management or whatever, but the construction's done. So before, pre-shutdown, I could fly here and fly there. But one day, I was in Saudi Arabia, I was in South America, I did 2 walkthroughs in Canada, I was down in, Central America, and then I did a couple of, FaceTimes, looking at some projects in the US. That would have taken me 3 weeks to do. I did it all in one day, So it's an amazing thing, and the technology was there. It just kind of forced people to go in that route. But you can't, and listen, you can't take away from the in-person stuff. But instead of having to drive 2 hours to look at something that's going to take you 10 minutes, do it here, do it FaceTime, or have someone take a picture of it, do a picture and send it to you on your phone. Your phone is the best thing you can ever have today. And, it's the best arsenal, tool in your tool belt, in my opinion. But you still you got to pick and choose where you're going to go, to have those face-to-face, because you still have to have it. I send so many emails a day, and there's certain ones, like today, I called a client. I just thought it was better for me to talk to them on the phone than it was to send an email. And it was Friday, and she was out, on a trip in California, and we were talking. I was like, where did you know? But it's just different. And, everything is moved so much faster. And, but like I said before, you and I are very, I'll be 60 this year. So I'm probably a little older than you, but, you and I ended up in Atlanta basically at the same time. So we've seen some serious construction in this town. I mean, you wouldn't recognize it when you look back in 1992 when I was here from, what it looks like today, just in the surrounding areas and, downtown. And downtown still has cranes up there. They're still doing stuff. So it's been an amazing journey, but all through it, everybody's been, very, very positive. The only thing that they've said is, I wish I had more PMs and more supers, and, I could get more jobs done,
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's going to continue for a while, because there definitely is a shortage of workers. And, you talked about your sign friend earlier, just having to turn down work. I think we're having to be much more discerning, more selective. We're having to give it a closer look, and we don't want to overtax. Our soups are the most critical element on all of our construction projects. And we want to make sure that they have, another word that I thought about, quality of life. We want them to have a good quality of life. We want to make sure that our soups and PMs feel like, they're respected, not just for their technical ability, but for, who they are as a person. And so we've really, really dug in deep trying to figure out how to make sure that we balance that. Because we could chase every single dollar. We're over $4 billion company, and maybe we could be higher, but we've got to be thoughtful and responsible about the number of projects we take on at any given time, and the number of people, number of projects we put people on. And so it's just, I really like where people's heads have gone over the past 3 years or so, because as a culture, Americans, if you spend any time overseas, it's much more pronounced when you spend a little bit of time overseas. Culturally, we're just trained, bred, groomed to work and grind as hard as we can. And so I like that we were sort of forced to think about how we're spending our time. And a lot of people who are hard grinders, nonstop grinders, now can see, I can take those gaps. I can take the weekend. It's Friday. I'm celebrating Friday. I'm not already thinking about Monday. And, I have a rule with my team that we don't work on the weekends unless there's an emergency. We got an emergency or there's something major happening. Yeah, we'll work on the weekends when we need to, but it shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be, automatic. And I think a lot of leaders have now gone to that, I need to be respectful of your time. I can be a grinder if I want to, but I need to be respectful of you because I'll lose you, especially in a tight market. I need to be respectful of my team's time. And so that I really appreciate those lessons and how we work with each other.
One of my editorial board members, he's a hotelier, and he's out on the West Coast. And anyway, we were trading LinkedIn. Anyway, I called him and he's like, "Hey, David, I'm on the golf course. I play golf on Fridays." I'm like, "Rob, you work." He's like, "David, no, I play golf on Fridays now. So I'll check in with you at the 19th hole when I'm having a beer. See ya."
Nice.
I got to hit. I'm making the turn. So I just laughed, when I heard that, and so what's amazing is before the shutdown, I used to just do construction stuff on my website. Now I post all sorts of stuff. I even post how women buy extensions. Half my circulation's female, so it's been amazing to see all the stuff because people want to, they have other stuff than just work. On LinkedIn, I always do TGIF Friday. I put a dog up with a funny meme on there. It just says TGIF. Today was the 13th TGIF of the year. You got 39 left. So it's but it's boom. Next week it'll be another one. And it's funny because I had run out of memes of dogs. I had to go on there and find a new one. And but everybody's looking at it, and then I tell people, "Hey, yeah, we had a great week. Hopefully you were productive. Go relax this weekend, clear your mind, have fun." And I'm also doing a garden too. That was one thing.
Where are you growing?
We're gonna do lettuce. We're gonna do tomatoes. We're gonna do peppers. My wife wants to do some potatoes, and one of my buds down in Dallas, he's with Restorative Farms. I've been trying to get him to do a roundtable in the magazine. But he teaches people that that are incarcerated, that have done their time, to come out and learn how to. They go into they're out of Dallas, and they take underdeveloped areas, and they will build these produce areas. So the local community, it builds the company, it brings retail back in. But they have these little boxes that they design and that they sell, where you can, even if you're an apartment, you could grow herbs or small vegetable things, and everybody should really know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I grew up outside of Philly. We had horses, and we had so I know how to change a tire and all that stuff. Today, a lot of kids, they don't know how to do any of that stuff. They just don't teach it. So I said, "Hey, everybody should have one of those boxes in their house, and you should grow your own food." Because hey, at least where it comes from. You get to make sure that the dogs don't get that, get near it,
And you make it. I feel like it makes you more thoughtful. I mean, knowing where it comes from, knowing that it's healthy, thoughtful about what you're throwing away. Like,
and you grew it too.
Took me 2 weeks to make that. I'm not throwing that away. I'm eating that. Versus you just bought it and you toss. Oh, I don't want the rest of this. So
yeah, and you built that.
Really, yeah.
Yeah,
You
you built.
appreciate it a lot more. You appreciate it a lot more. And I do agree that kids, unfortunately, aren't learning some of the skills that we learned. You know, I have to think about, where did I learn that? Because growing up, I was a big DIYer. You know, I retiled our bathroom floor. I hung ceiling fans in all our bedrooms. And, you know, I grew up in a single parent, single mother. So a single family or a single parent home, all women. So my mother, my sister,
Oh,
my grandmother.
wow.
So just like, you know, growing up as a kid, my grandmother lived with us when my grandfather died, but it was all women, no men in the house. And so when something broke, I was the man of the house. I was the one fixing it. I was, you know, spraying WD-40 on the things to make them stop squeaking. And so now I've got a son and a daughter, and I don't just teach my son how to use a power drill. I'm teaching my daughter. I'm teaching her how to hammer a nail. And so, you know, I do think it's important that kids learn those basic life skills, the things that, you know, we were taught when we were growing up. And maybe we were going so fast, so hard that we stopped teaching them those things. But yeah, teaching them how to grow food is, and now the technology, we can couple the technology with the sort of, you know, history of teaching the next generation something side by side. If we compare that together, I think it'd be fantastic. And so I love that your friend's doing that.
Yeah, you know, YouTube is an amazing thing because you can learn
Yeah.
how to do anything you want to do. You want to
Yep.
learn how to do something, you just go and Google YouTube and you put it in the search bar and you will find anything you want to know you can do yourself. You just have to have,
Everything.
if you have the right tools, you can do anything. You know, you might make a couple mistakes, but you know, once you learn how to do something, you know, you just gotta go for it and do it. So
And even on YouTube, what's so cool about it, it'll tell you, you know, watch out for this. What? So it's almost like having your grandpa next to you telling you, be careful when you're, you know, changing that alternator, because
yeah.
it's so cool that that's how I learned how to grow my garden. That's how I learned how to play. One of my favorite songs is Pachelbel's Canon in D. And I decided as a child that I wanted to take piano lessons, never got a chance to do it. So I got a keyboard and went on YouTube and taught myself how to play the piano.
Oh,
It
that's awesome.
literally can learn anything on YouTube.
So what was one of your favorite projects that you've done? You know, like lately? What's one that comes to mind that you're proud of?
Oh, so it's my very first project since I came to Ryan. So I joined Ryan in February of 2021. And I came here to grow the Atlanta office. So when I joined, we were just, you know, just around single digits. And I'd say in late 2019, we had 5 people in the office. By the time I joined, we were up to 15 people. And so when I came in, I didn't have a team to do the work. We were still growing the team. And somehow I, you know, got wind of a major, you know, e-commerce, e-commerce customer wanted to put a million plus, you know, 1.2 million square foot facility in North Carolina. And I got the call. I looked around the office. I'm the only one here that day, because this was back when people were still working from home. I just started, so I was still coming in.
Right.
And I said, all right, I'm gonna go look at it. So I took somebody, we went and looked at it. And, you know, less than 6 months after starting, I didn't know it at the time, but I landed the largest project in the history of the region. So this is the biggest
Woo!
project, you know, that our region has ever done in history. We're pretty young region for Ryan. Ryan's been around for 85 years. So as a company, we're a very mature company. We are still, you know, growing this region. And so we're still young and sprightly here. Didn't know, biggest project in the history of our region. And I'm brand new at development and construction. I'm a lawyer, right? I'm a lawyer and a CPA. And so now I got to figure out, I've gotten hired, I got to figure out how to build this thing. And so I'm assembling a team of experts. All right, guys, you know, what do we need to do? And it was the most complicated, multiple reasons why this project shouldn't have happened. I'll spare you all the details, but just know that, you know, everything from utilities to local, you know, incentives to just, you know, we had to get the governor involved, and there were so many reasons why this project should have been canceled, but I just won't quit. You ever seen that image of the duck with the frog in its mouth, and the frog is like holding the throat and it says, "Don't give up"?
Yeah.
There were moments during that project where I would picture that image in my head and I go, nope, I'm gonna figure out how to make this happen. I refuse. And I am so proud. We got hired first, biggest project, assembled the right team from around all the experts at Ryan, and got it done. And it is just, right now, it's my most, you know, biggest thing that I'm proudest of right now. We got some new ones. We just won a couple of new ones. And so I suspect that one will be, you know, supplanted by these new ones we just won this week. But yeah, so far that's the biggest one.
Oh man, that's really, you know, I always tell my, you know, when my son was growing up, I was very hard on because I wanted to make sure you had thick skin, because when you get out of school and you know, the business world it's vicious out there. You know, it just is. You got to have thick skin, you know, and I'm like, you finish what you start. I don't care
Yes.
how many pitfalls you are. You might hate it, might not turn out the way, but you finish what you start.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't quit, you know, and so that story about what you just did, that was awesome. So that's going to lead right into my to our last section. If you had to leave one positive thought or phrase with our listeners out there, what would it be?
Back to that same story. You know, it's someone's already done the duck with the frog around with his hands around his throat. That is my mental image. That's my picture of how I keep pushing and how I, you know, don't stop, finish what I start. But I would say grit, just one word, grit. And you know, look, it's not original. You go to any management trainee course. You know, it's guts. So be courageous. You know, grit is guts, resilience, initiative, and tenacity. And so the guts is just, you know, be okay stepping out. Be okay being half full when everybody else is half empty. Be okay being the only woman in the room. Be okay being the youngest in the room. Be okay being the person of color, the only one in the room, or the only immigrant in the room. You got to have the guts to just be the only one. Because if you follow the crowd, you're not going to be able to develop the grit. And the resilience is when you get to that part where it's hard, and the tomatoes are dying, and I've got tomato hornworms now, and I don't even know what those are, but they look really gross, and I got to figure out how to get rid of them. You've got to have the resilience to figure it out. And then the initiative is, okay, you know, if no one else wants to start, I'll start, and you guys come along, you know, behind me. It's telling the team, we're not going to stop selling. We're going to keep selling, and we'll figure out the capital markets piece later. And then tenacity. You know, you cannot stop. You know, it's one thing to start, just like you said, don't finish what you start, but tenacity is staying in it and staying consistent, not slowing down, you know, working at a reasonable pace, taking breaks, taking a weekend, taking a vacation, but don't stop working. Just keep going and you will get there. And so grit is the one that I'd say especially for young folks, you have to learn how to have grit and, you know, and make things work out for you.
Grit. They heard of commercial construction coffee talk, people, from Cloteen Jasmin down here. Grit. I love it. You know, if anybody out there would want to bump some questions off you or find out more about Ryan and the Southeast in your region or any of the other divisions that, you know, are out there, because you're a big company, you know, nationwide and probably globally,
yeah,
how would they reach out to you?
Definitely start here. Reach out to me, Cloteen Jasmin. And my email address at Ryan Companies is first name dot last name. So that's Cloteen, CLOTEEN JASMIN, no E. Cloteen.jasmin at ryancompanies.com. Of course, you can go to our website, ryancompanies.com. Any of our 18 offices around the country, whether you got a project in Georgia, the Southeast region, the Carolinas, where I work, or if you got a project in Seattle, Washington, or San Diego, just start with me and I'll put you in front of the right person.
Awesome. If someone wants to get in touch with me, you can catch me at David C at ccr-mag.com. Listen, I know you hate me saying this, but, you know, for those of you who listen to me every week, but if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win the lottery. So if you don't send me something, you know, I can't find, you know, I can't get you in the magazine. I can't find, you know, so, you know, but listen, you send me something cool. It could be anything. It could be a golf tournament. It could be personal. It could be a cool project. You know, any of those things. And I actually answer all my emails. I might not come back to you right away, but if I do post it, I'll send it to you. We do a lot of stuff on the web now because it's very tough to get in the magazine. And but if you have any cool projects, or if you think you have a cover feature that, you know, that's worthy, send it to me. I look at everything, but you have to send it to me. So do it. You got nothing to lose. It's like throwing spaghetti up on the wall. You know, the more you send to me, the more stuff I post. It's a win-win. And, you know, that's how you get me. So, well, Cloteen, it's been a pleasure speaking with a local. You know, I don't think I've had a local on in a long time, you know, and you're a transplant just like me, you know. So you know, and you were Georgetown Hoya, you know,
Yep.
you know, it's you got a great story. And you got some farming in there too, you know, with you know, and you got the Everybody Loves Raymond going on in Atlanta at your home there, you know, and that was classic in itself. So listen, everybody out there, commercial construction coffee talk. It's the weekend. Recharge your battery. And listen, when you get back to work next week, if you're on the construction site, make sure you stay safe, drink lots of water, stay hydrated because it's starting to get hot here in the South. And depending on where you're at, with the weather, springtime, summer's coming, and we want everybody to stay safe and, come home, every night. So with that said, enjoy the Final Four, the Sweet 16, whatever's going on this weekend, and enjoy the weather. And Cloteen, we're local. We have to get together. Okay.
I would love to get together. That'd be fantastic.
I'll get my truck and we'll come down and we'll have lunch or so forth, and come down and see the office. And always like to know the locals, and we can laugh about all the things that we've seen over the last
since the early 90s.
Oh yeah, no, it's, believe me, I've seen a lot, and it's just amazing. So with that said, Cloteen, say goodbye from Atlanta.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for having me, David. This has been a blast.
And I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam in Lake Lanier. We're about 25 miles out of downtown. And like I said, everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Cloteen, look forward to seeing you. All right. Thank you so much for your time. It was a great story. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.